Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday, and I'm Tim. Welcome to Tuesday with Tim. I'm Timothy Knight. Lots of things going on in the past week, and I hope you had a great weekend. I hope Monday and Dr. King's holiday was good for you. And I want to start on that, what happened in Richmond yesterday. We've seen it before. Uh, some of you who are as old as me, you remember the mass hysteria that was caused when they broadcast War of the Worlds with Orson Welles in 1938. People actually died from that. Some people thought there were aliens attacking the U.S., and it made it sound so real that people went into a panic. Wide scale panic. It's pretty much what you saw yesterday. Only difference is that it weren't aliens. There were nerds dressed up like Ghostbusters uh, and kitty soldiers walking around with real guns. Here's the problem. Never in the history of America has any government, local or state, ever come up to someone's house and removed weapons. The only caveat is if they were doing something foul, like they did, doing it in the Iowa Panhandle or something like that. No one has ever had someone comes to their house and take their guns. Never will. There are more guns than people, way more. I think 10, 15 per person. And there's 330, 350 million people in the U.S. right now. So that's a lot of guns. Never happened. But what's happening is that they're selling fear. Guns are a doable item. I have guns. The ones I bought them years ago. I don't need to buy anymore. So what do you do to generate sales? You sell fear. And that's what you saw yesterday. Now, the only issue they were so up in arms about was this simple fact that Virginia requires background checks now, mandated background checks. Same thing for getting a job or credit or driving a car or anything. What's the big deal? And if you can catch one person that shouldn't have a gun and tell them no, and it saves lives, 10 lives, 20 lives, more, isn't it worth it? You would think so. But because of this fear the NRA is selling, you saw what you saw. Not a lot of black participation. In fact, I had someone say, oh, it's not a white supremacist rally. It is a gun rights rally. Well, why'd you have it on Dr. King's day? A man who promoted peace his entire life was killed by a sniper's bullet, and yet you want to haul out Billy Bob Joe, great grandfather, third, what the hell other blunderbuss, and march up to the Capitol as we celebrate his birthday. There's one thing I do appreciate about the issue, and then I'll move on, is that thank you. Thank you for coming at me without any mirrors, without any smoke, without any pretension. We see you. We see exactly what that's for. And I will leave you with this. We saw a lot of guns up there. But the guns you didn't see, those are the ones you need to worry about. You have to worry about me. But there's a lot of people who are not going to go back to 1865. And they shoot probably better than you because they're professionally trained to do that. So, enough about that. Let's talk about the Senate trial. The thing that occurs to me is that this is looking more and more like Jesus and the Sanhedrin. Now, Jesus was innocent, and for those who are Christian or know anything about the Bible, you know the story. They brought him into trial under cover of darkness, convicted him, and did what they did. Well, Trump's guilty, and they're trying to do the same thing: bring it in under cover of darkness, not let the voters see all the evidence. Right now, NSA, National Security Administration, they're blocking a treasure trove of documents that are critical in this Ukrainian case. Think about that for a minute. The National Security Agency blocking documents that will prove his guilt or innocence. Now, of course, people have said it before, and I'll say it again. For a man that is allegedly so innocent, wouldn't you want to see all the documentation? Wouldn't you want to see the work they've been doing against Ukrainian corruption? Allegedly so. But instead, Moscow Mitch doesn't want to have any debate in prime time. He wants to catch it at a late hour so as few people as possible hear it. And you know, most Fox viewers are from that 50 and above range anyway, so they're going to go to bed after they, watch the local news or whatever the hell they do. But I would invite you to program your DVRs, tape the whole proceeding, grab sound bites, flood them all over social media, because we know that the Senate will never convict Orange Idiot. We know that. But what I'm hoping is that all the evidence will come out so everyone can fairly decide what's going to happen with this country moving forward in 2020 and beyond. Without looking at those critical pieces of evidence, we have to assume that he's guilty. But we want to know I want to know the breadth and depth of his guilt. And I want to know who else is involved, because this is not a problem that just stems with Donald Trump. This goes so deep and so far and so wide. It has to be fleshed out before the next election cycle, because if it's not me, it'll be someone else talking about the same thing over and over again. Get those DVRs taped. Get a good night's sleep. And when you get some time, review it yourself. Don't count on me saying anything or anyone else. You watch it for yourself. And then show people what you've seen so we can all be in concert. Last thing, when they do exonerate him, I know some people in Washington would love to organize a march on the Capitol to demand that this monster resign. Now, will he resign? Who knows? But we have to apply the pressure. We have to do our part as citizens. They did it in Richmond. I didn't agree with it, but no one got hurt, so okay. Let's do our part for democracy's sake. Okay, final thought, healthcare. I have posted a number of articles on the Tim with Tuesdays Facebook page that concern minority health. As you know, I had a colonoscopy last week and everything worked out okay. But a couple of things come to mind every time that I go to a doctor's office or have a procedure. Now, for those that know me, they know that my wife is a PA, and she's a medical professional, and I've been around her for a long time. She's a great PA, and where she works, which I will not name because I'm not plugging anyone for free, they do a great job with patient care. But one size does not fit all, because generally speaking, in the scheme of healthcare in America, it is fixed, it is biased against minorities, women, and people of color. The first thing, if you think about it, if let's say I'm having chest pain, I go to the doctor, okay? I give them all my symptoms, and they run EKG, test all that stuff. No, a lot of times they'll give you some Tylenol or ask you if you're stressed and send you home. And people have died from that. And there have been lawsuits that have been successfully waged for that same thing. Now, if I'm a white guy, and if it sounds racist, you know what? It is. But it's not me. It's the system. If I come in and I say I'm having chest pains, I'm going to get EKG, I'm going to get nuclear stress tests, I'm going to get blood labs, all of that stuff. Because it's not necessarily a intentional bias, but is a systematic bias based on how they are taught. Did you know, for example, that anesthesiologists are taught that black people don't need as much anesthesia as white people do. And like I said, don't take my word for it. I put the articles on the page, and this is from the National Health Sciences, so you can read it for yourself, and you can glean if I'm telling the truth or if I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. But the way they are trained is that there's the assumption that black skin is thicker than white skin. So therefore, they don't need as much anesthesia because we can tolerate more pain. If I'm lying, I'm flying, you read it yourself. Another thing that really bothers me, and I've talked to my wife about this, is that the number one killer of all women, particularly black women, heart attacks, stroke. Most African American women, 48%, have some sort of cardiovascular disease. A lot of them don't even know it. Why? Because they don't have the resources to get those quality examinations that you're supposed to have annually to discover these problems. Now, I had a heart attack when I was 50 years old. Fortunately, I have that good military I have a good military medical plan. Yeah, I just got a little brain cramp there for a minute. So when I came in, and I told them what the symptoms were, they started on me immediately. But say that was because of my association with Darlene. I knew exactly what to say, how to tell them, and was I in a little bit of a panic? Yeah, because it felt like an 800-pound gorilla was on my chest. They did all that stuff, and I was in the hospital for a few days, and I was fine. But I have access to not only great medical care, I have access to a person in my house who I sleep with every night, by the way, that can give me that advice, and most people don't have that. Now, what I would advise you to do, strongly advise you to do, is that, you know, if you have a primary care physician like we do, and we have a good one, Dr. Nuss, we've seen her for 8 years now. She's watched our kids growing up. She's seen me go through surgeries, thyroid surgery, brain surgery, so on and so forth. And she has been a really good source of basic medical information and additional as well. That's the type of doctor that you want to have. But you need to start asking these questions for yourself every time that you go into a doctor's office. Am I getting the best quality care? If I was someone else, would I get different products or more services or less, depending on need? Which brings me to the last point. Yes, it is biased toward minorities, but it's biased because they want to save money. They want to save money because there is a perceptual cultural bias that we can be healthier with less. I don't find that to be a valid point at all. So anyway, I hope that you will look at some of those articles. If you have some health stories to share, please post them. Post them on one of the articles. And I'll give you one more story and I'll let you go because I'm over 10 minutes. We had our first child almost 18 years ago. Darlene delivered C-section, and our plan was, before delivery, is that I was going to go with the baby. So they deliver Isaac, everything's fine. I've got the baby. We're going up to put him in an incubator. But what I didn't know was Darlene's on the table while they're sewing her up. She starts having difficulty breathing. And she's telling them, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And these guys are blowing her off, almost to the point where it became catastrophic. Now, they didn't care if she was a PA. They didn't even know if she's a PA. My question is this: had she been someone else and told them that she was having trouble breathing, would they have done something different? Anyway, read the articles, take those proceedings Let's talk about it on social media back and forth. Hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for your time. We'll see you later. Bye bye.